BestBookBits.com presents Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Published in 1946 and weighing in at 200 pages, psychiatrist Viktor Frankl's memoir has riveted generations of readers with its descriptions of life in Nazi death camps and its lessons for spiritual survival. Between 1942 and 1945, Frankl laboured in 4 different camps, including Auschwitz, while his parents, brother, and pregnant wife perished. Based on his own experience and the experiences of others he treated later in his practice, Frankl argues that we cannot avoid suffering, but we can choose how to cope with it, find meaning in it, and move forward with renewed purpose. Frankl's theory, known as logotherapy, from the Greek word logos, meaning, holds that our primary drive in life is not pleasure, as Freud maintained, but the discovery and pursuit of what we personally find meaningful. The written summary can be found on our website, bestbookbits.com. So without further ado, I bring you the book summary of Man's Search for Meaning. Viktor Frankl survived 5 concentration camps, lost mother, brother, and wife in the Holocaust, and yet there's nothing but hope, beauty, and faith in his writing. That alone would make it a must-read. Now add a life-changing content that will truly make you a better person, and you get Man's Search for Meaning. You choose your attitude. No matter what happens to you, you decide how you react and how you feel about it. Viktor Frankl details how some men, no matter how desperate in their situation, still found the strength to comfort others, some of them even giving away their last piece of bread. I can't help but quote him verbatim here because it's too beautiful to paraphrase. There may have been few in number, but they offer sufficient proof that everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of human freedoms. To choose one's own attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way. Happiness and success must ensure. Frankl says that happiness is not something that we should seek directly. He defines happiness as a byproduct of giving ourselves fully into an endeavour. This is Viktor's number 1 way to find meaning, and we might call it today a life goal. He who has a why can bear any how. Viktor Frankl recounts of men going from suicide plans to survivors simply by finding a big reason to live on. It could have been a child in a foreign country or an unfinished work, or making sure a Holocaust would never ever happen again. Or I would add, it can even be a not-so-positive, raging one. You might tell yourself, for example, you'll survive no matter what to make sure you kill every single prisoner abusing God. Mental images. I also found interesting how across all books, some of the biggest reliefs from pain came from thoughts and mental images. Viktor Frankl, for example, had mental images of his wife and the birds nearby, became her living embodiment. Powerfully, he even said later on that the mental image wouldn't have changed if he had known his wife had already died. He also imagined himself after liberation in lecture halls, teaching about what must never happen again. Very prophetic, as that's exactly what happened. Recurrent among other prisoners were also very descriptive and imaginative discussions about the food they were going to enjoy once free. What is life asking us? What is life asking us? Viktor Frankl turns the table on the question of what we expect from life, which he believes is a terrible question. We must instead find the courage to ask what life expects of us. And sometimes that answer only reveals in the worst suffering. I quote him, "We had to learn ourselves, and furthermore, we had to teach the despairing men that it did not really matter what we expected from life, but rather what life expected from us. Stop asking about the meaning of life and instead to think of ourselves as those who were being questioned by life. Life ultimately means taking responsibility to find the right answer to its problems." Logotherapy. A chapter of Man's Search for Meaning is dedicated to logotherapy, the psychotherapy school founded by Viktor Frankl. Contrary to Freud's introspection, logotherapy takes the person out of themselves and puts their life in a broader perspective. Logotherapy also sees mental health as the tension between who you are and who you could be, or whom you wish to be. A concept repeated by Tony Robbins of what he calls blueprint. In logotherapy, prospective existential distress is not neurosis or mental disease, but a sign that we are internally looking for a meaning in our life. Depression sets in, indeed, only when the gap between who we are and whom we could be becomes so large that we can no longer ignore it. Thus, depression can be a welcome warning if we use it as a wake-up call for some long-due soul searching. Sunday neurosis, slow roasting. Indeed, before reaching full depression, Viktor Frankl talks about Sunday neurosis, which is the feeling of dejection at the end of the working week. We realize our day-to-day humdrum is empty and meaningless, and instead of going to the root cause, we cover up the pain with binge eating, drinking, or shopping. The bad thing is that these compensation in the short term might even patch us up and poison us like a drug would. And probably worst of all, they prevent us from looking deeper into ourselves to find meaning. This part of me think of Henry Thoreau's quote about most people living a life of quiet desperation. Finding meaning. So here we are finally. How can we find meaning? According to Frankl, the main sources of meaning are: number 1, give back to the world with your work or creation. Number 2, experience or love. And number 3, the attitude we take to situations and suffering outside our control. The first is what you could call a life purpose or life goal. I love the second one as it puts experiences and a life of enjoyment as an alternatives to achievement. Thus, traveling the world or giving yourself fully to your partner can replace a more concrete or materialistic goal. We get to the third when we learn to look at suffering as an opportunity to find meaning in life. For example, in the most dire of consequences, we could take pride in staying humans and helping one another instead of regressing to animal level. To me, it can run even deeper. This is about growing and becoming people who are able to choose our meaning no matter the situation we are in. Real life applications. Get a strong why for a happier life and overcome depression. If you feel depressed, maybe you don't have an overreaching goal which juices you. It doesn't have to be lofty or grandiose. You want a kid. Maybe your goal is find a man and become the best mother you can be. You like smoking weed and gaming. What about a legalization advocate and game tournaments to take kids off the streets? Experience life. Enjoying what life can offer is a great way of living a meaningful life. If you like me and tend to be demanding of yourself and really enjoy rewards, start changing that. Book holidays, plan new activities, learn to lose yourself in new experiences you will cherish for years, and start living life fully. It's a skill you can learn. Develop a growth mindset. Love someone, or go even further by loving and cherishing everyone close to you. And that's a wrap on Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Subscribe to our channel now for future summaries and check out our website bestbookbits.com for the written and audio summary. The website is amassed with hundreds of book summaries from the classics to the current. Have a browse to help further your education through the power of books. Like, comment or share if you got something from this summary. Thanks for watching and have yourself an amazing day.